Greetings, you're listening to the Cold Call Lawcast, the Minnesota Law School podcast featuring students from the University of Minnesota Law School, the University of St. Thomas School of Law, and the Mitchell-Hamline School of Law. Welcome everyone to Cold Call Lawcast. I'm Mitch, a law student at the University of St. Thomas School of Law, and with me are my co-hosts.
I'm Abby. I'm a 1L at the University of Minnesota Law School.
My name is Anthony. I'm a 2L at Mitchell-Hamline School of Law.
My name is Colleen Case. I am filling in for Hannah, and I am a 3L, a month away from graduating at UST School of Law.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you. No applause needed, but it is appreciated.
All right, so I wanted to open up a brief discussion on what we learned this year in law school. We have varying degrees of law students on here. I'm a 1L, Abby's a 1L, Anthony's a 2L, Colleen's a 3L. So let's just go around and kind of discuss what we've learned this year. Abby, you want to go?
Give some water. I'm still thinking what I learned this whole year, like everything that is torts, everything that is contracts, everything that is the first session of con law. This week, I learned about how plane spotters noticed some funky plane activity in North Carolina, and they figured out that it was planes flying detainees, people who were extraordinarily renditioned to be tortured in like Guantanamo Bay and stuff were flying through a front company based in North Carolina run by the CIA.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It's fascinating. And they've like been falsifying flight records and stuff. And so like a small citizens group is collecting all this data from like plane spotters and stuff, and also from the flight records they can get a hold of. And they fly through like European airspace as well, and it's like a goofy network of stuff. And it's backed up by like some UN special rapporteurs and human rights organizations. And that's something fun I learned this week.
Fascinating.
One of the many things you could learn if you go to law school.
Interesting.
Yep.
I didn't know that, so I feel like my education has
So I feel like we learned
Yeah.
something, yeah.
I learned everything property-wise and professional responsibility-wise. And
Are you in
advocacy
professional responsibility right now?
right now?
Okay.
And that is going great. So I know all the model rules, not very well. Is that model rule 1.1 is competence. 1.3 is diligence.
I'm going to go with maybe.
That's a strong maybe. Property, they got the rule against perpetuities.
Oh yeah.
So that's is it the
I'm learning that too.
one full life plus 21 years? Or?
Yeah, a life in being at the time the interest vests.
Yes.
Or is transferred. Plus
Yes.
21 years.
Rad.
Plus 21
Yeah.
years.
So in professional responsibility, do you learn more about the attorney-client privilege? Is that a lot about what you learn in it?
Yeah, a lot about the communications and the things that you're ethically bound to, and basically just going through all the different model rules and reading the case law where you just read about all these different attorneys that just fucked up.
That's the best
Is
part.
that-
Learn from
is that the
others'
one?
mistakes.
Yeah. I wish I could give some cases out the top of my head, but
So is a lot of it just like malpractice
pretty
type
much.
stuff?
Yeah, I mean, because I think obviously the point, you want to be as fit character-wise as possible, and they hope taking a PR and passing the MPRE that they can, I guess, the bar can like mitigate some of those risks and weed out those people. But I don't know, you feel like they kind of look at it and there's a certain percentage of people in your class that someday are going to face some sort of like complaints.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or something for not malpractice, but it could be something along the lines of mishandling client funds, something like that.
And it's a lot easier to do than people think. Like, it's easy to say, don't mix your client's fund with your funds, but then when you got different trust accounts and you got 30 different clients and all the trust accounts, like...
Oh, are you talking about like the fund for the firm and the fund for the specific client?
Right, like you have to have very good accounting to track all the money that's going in and out. Like, you can have all of your clients, if you have 30 clients, they can all be pooled into one big trust fund. And you have to make sure you're pulling out the right amount of money for each case that you're working on, paying your staff with, only what you're allowed.
But isn't it, if we look at it from like an economic perspective, money is fungible in that regards. I mean, how, like, are you really just supposed to like keep each account very separate, and like just because you run low on one account doesn't mean you run low on the other? Or I guess, I mean, is that the way that it just is? It's just that money's not fungible in that regards?
You just need to, at least what I take away from it, the bottom line is you need to keep your funds separate from clients' funds. All your clients' funds could be pooled into one big pot, so to speak.
Oh, okay.
So if you guys were all my clients, all of your guys' retainers could be in one bank account.
So like if the three of us had each put $10,000 to retain you,
right,
and so that's $30,000. If you needed $11,000, you would be able to do that?
Well, it depends on the work that you're doing. So, like, if I work $300 on Mitch's case and then $1,000 on Colleen's and $200 on Abby's, like, you got to make sure that. So I'll pull all that money out for what I'm working on, but I have to make sure that I'm tracking whose money I'm pulling from.
Yeah, a big part of that is you have to, if there's like anything that's contested, so you send out bills. And if there's like anything that's contested, that has to stay in the account, but you can take the money out of like from a retainer that you've earned.
Mm-hmm. But you can only take out what you've earned, and that also goes the other way. Like you can't just leave money in the trust account as well that you've earned, because you're still intermingling your funds with your client's funds. So like if I did $10,000 worth of work for you, Mitch, but I never pulled that money from the trust account, that's my $10,000 that's now in your trust account. So that's commingling my funds anyways. So it goes both ways. Like if I take too much or if I don't take enough, you run into issues. So it's a lot more convoluted than what, just don't mix your funds. No, that straight rule.
Right.
Fascinating.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Colleen, what did you learn as a 3L in her last semester?
Yeah, what class did you take your last semester?
I took international and comparative family law.
Oh.
Which is really fun. I'm also taking domestic abuse class. It's taught by a Supreme Court justice or Minnesota Supreme Court justice, and then a referee in the family court. And then I'm also taking this legal analysis review, which is taught by like the dean of students, Scott Swanson at St. Thomas. And it's just a class that basically teaches you how to take the tests or how to take the bar exam. So we do like practice essays, and we go through outlines of torts and contracts and everything. Can't believe I forgot it. So that's what I'm taking.
Oh, I already forgot half the tort stuff I learned. So
oh my god, I can't believe how much I don't know.
Imagine.
And then I guess in terms of things that I learned this year, not so much about like subjects, but I feel I've learned a lot about failure and how that's kind of like a part of everyday life. I just feel like I tried a lot of things and got a lot of rejections this year, just in terms of, I had an interview a few weeks ago. I didn't get it. I went to a negotiations competition in Lansing, Michigan, and did not perform well at all. But I feel like I'm just trying to learn from these experiences and handle them with some sort of grace and move on and do the best I can on the next thing. So to be a little weird with that.
No, it's good.
So you feel like you've learned as a person more than just the curriculum type stuff?
Oh, absolutely.
What about you guys? Do you feel like you've grown specifically as a person? Oh,
I
Anthony
do.
and Abby? Abby?
I'm trying to, I don't know if I can articulate it, but I do quite a bit. But I don't know what to say about it.
I mean,
is it just more about confidence, or?
I would say it is to some extent. I think I've learned a little bit about failure as well, although I never feel like I have failed completely. It's just learning that, I don't know, it's my own fault if I don't put a lot of work into something. And in undergrad, it was like I could kind of float by, and now I can't anymore. But yeah.
I think I've learned. I mean, I think I've got more experience in I can be more professional and I can have that experience to transfer with me to wherever I am. Also prioritizing workloads a lot more in depth now. I mean, I had a pretty good sense of that before coming to law school, but it's just absolutely a necessary skill that you need to have when in law school, especially when you're working as well and have a family. So I think balancing that time has been easier for me than it has in the past. So I think that's one way I've grown.
Off of that too, just today I went to like a career fair and I'm learning more about what it means to be like a legal professional, but also not molding myself too much to fit like sort of like an edgeless person who's like, yes, I am a legal professional and I am here to serve you. Like, I don't know. It seems weird to me, like when I'm in interviews or if I'm talking to someone, to like hide any part of who I am, I guess. Because if you're going to be working for someone for a long time, then you're stuck like that and you're going to suffer. So
well, and you know,
can't. But there's some balance to it as well.
I've gotten advice, you know, if you get called in for interviews, they know you're qualified. So at that point, they're just interviewing to see if they like you enough to spend every day with you.
Mm-hmm.
So
you should let.
So you shouldn't box yourself, or else, you know, when you finally let loose, you'll be like, who the hell is this?
Yeah, who did we let into our firm? Yeah.
Well, I've worked in a lot of places where it took me 3 or 4 years before I finally was opening up to how I really am and like joking around more and being more open instead of like, even right now at my job, I'm very much get my work done and go home. I don't do a lot of socializing. I don't spend a lot of time talking to other people. I just get my work done. But you know, and then I worked in the restaurant industry for 6 or 7 years, and then all that goes out the window. All your professionalism goes out the window, and you just kind of open up and be yourself a little bit more. And I think in these legal settings, it's harder to open up like that. But I think you also need to have that balance, or else you're gonna have a very sad work life.
Right.
Yeah. What have you learned?
So, I mean, definitely from an academic perspective, I really enjoyed like learning the stuff I have, like learning about torts and how a whole lot of it makes a lot more sense now. Learning about criminal law, all that was like really fascinating. I think from like a personal experience, I think what I've gained is a better understanding of how to like analyze an argument, especially when I'm at work, that a person is gonna like bring up, and then kind of like poking holes within the like rationale that they're using for different things. And I think it's benefited me, especially in the near term, in just having that understanding of how to make those arguments and like how to convince people that this way is better and articulating how that is. And so I got promoted this last semester, which was actually kind of a pain, because now I'm like been doing transitioning for like the last month while in law school.
Mm-hmm. So you're learning a whole new thing anyways.
Like, yeah, I think what I've learned in that regards is that it is possible to do things kind of nonstop as long as you're really organized. And I think what's nice is I have a lot of tools at my work that allow me to be organized, which is good. But like right now with my new role that I'm starting is I have 2 direct reports that, you know, they're going to be coming to me for guidance now. And so it's going to be a lot of like managing people and things like that. So it'll be good. And, I think law school has just helped like being able to like analyze an issue or a problem and being able to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I learned.
Nick, what'd you learn from this podcast?
Yes, Nick, our producer. What did you learn?
I mean, I was wanting to throw in a question of what do you guys learn? How do you think the podcast changed you guys and what you guys changed over the year? But as someone who's not a law school student who, in your next segment later, when you guys talk about TV, my experience with law is always television, knock on wood, because I haven't got arrested yet.
Don't worry, we'll represent you.
Thank God. I just, you guys go through a lot, and I find that the balance of being a full-time student versus part-time student is very interesting to see how you guys can go through the changes, going through, you know, being married, having a family, being full-time, just the amount of work